If you're looking to test your might, play some Mortal Kombat. If you're looking to test your knowledge, watch a 107 facts video. But if you're looking to perform a fatality on two birds with one stone, here's a 107 facts video about Mortal Kombat. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the latest entry in the series, Mortal Kombat 11. This is the leaderboard with 107 facts about Mortal Kombat 11. Number 1. While Mortal Kombat 11 has been out for a few years now, the game was first announced by series co-creator Ed Boon in December 2018 during the Game Awards for that year. Number 2. Ed Boon created Mortal Kombat back in the 90s, but he's still heavily involved in developing the series even to this day. On Mortal Kombat 11, he's the creative director and team lead. Number 3. Of course, it's not like Ed Boon makes these games all on his own. He has an entire team of developers behind him with NetherRealm Studios. Number 4. While Mortal Kombat 11 was made by NetherRealm Studios, the game was distributed by Warner Bros. Games. This division of Warner Bros. Has owned the rights to Mortal Kombat since 2009. Number 5. Historically, Mortal Kombat's story has been all over the place. There's all kinds of reboots, sequels, prequels, spin-offs, pretty much anything that you can imagine. Mortal Kombat 11 keeps it simple though. This is a direct sequel to Mortal Kombat X, which came out in 2015. Number 6. We all knew that Mortal Kombat 11's story was going to be a direct follow-up from our first look at the game. The first announcement trailer featured Dark Raiden, which MKX left off as a cliffhanger. Number 7. In 2019, at the Brazil Game Show, Ed Boon actually said that Mortal Kombat 11's story would be the conclusion to the whole Mortal Kombat series, from the first one to the 2011 reboot. Number 8. On launch, Mortal Kombat 11's story actually had 3 different endings. Whichever ending you got was determined by the final fight between Liu Kang and the story's main villain, Kronika. Number 9. The first outcome is a no-brainer. If Liu Kang loses, Kronika kills him and ushers in the new era, restarting the timeline and erasing Raiden from existence. Number 10. Of course, this is Mortal Kombat, so losing is not an option. But even winning has 2 different possibilities, depending on how you win. If Liu Kang wins both rounds against Kronika, the now mortal Raiden lets him bring someone along into the hourglass. Liu Kang picks Kitana, and they endeavor to make a new and improved timeline, fixing everything that Kronika messed up. Number 11. If Kronika wins one round, but Liu Kang takes the whole match, mortal Raiden swears to advise him for the rest of his now mortal life. I'm sure Liu Kang would want Kitana around, but this is actually the canon ending. Number 12. For the record, the base version of Mortal Kombat 11 released on all platforms on April 23rd, 2019. That includes PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Number 13. Well, to be clear, the Switch version wasn't available in Europe for a few more weeks. It dropped on May 10th, 2019. Number 14. If you can believe it, Mortal Kombat 11 even had a Google Stadia version that came out on November 19th, 2019. Emphasis on had a Stadia version. Number 15. When Mortal Kombat 11 launched, it had 25 playable characters. Kind of. Number 16. Frost is in the base game, but you have to unlock her. You can do this by progressing through the story mode or by paying for her separately if, you don't want to play the game. Number 17. Shao Kahn, on the other hand, is a different situation. At first, he was only available to play if you pre-ordered Mortal Kombat 11. Of course, you could also buy him separately if you missed the pre-order window. Number 18. Frost and Shao Kahn are familiar faces, but Mortal Kombat 11 brought a few new characters into the mix too. First, there's the main villain of the story mode, Kronika. Number 19. Kronika is a titan, which makes her older than even Mortal Kombat's mighty elder gods like Shinnok. She's tasked with maintaining balance in the universe's timeline. Number 20. Originally, Kronika was actually designed to be a male character. Number 21. She's actually the first female boss character in Mortal Kombat's history. Sure, the Shokan Shiva is a classic sub-boss, but being the final boss is totally different. Number 22. Unfortunately, in classic Mortal Kombat final boss fashion, just like Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 2, Kronika is not playable in Mortal Kombat 11. Number 23. While you can't play as Kronika, you can at least appreciate her performance. She's played by the legendary voice actor Jennifer Hale. Hale has played everyone from Shepard in Mass Effect to, more recently, Bayonetta. Number 24. Out of the 25 playable character roster at the start, 3 of them are new to Mortal Kombat. Number 25. First, there's Cetrion. Like Shinnok, she is an elder god. She has the power to control nature, the elements, and life itself. She's actually Shinnok's sister and Kronika's daughter. Number 26. Cetrion is voiced by Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. For you Tekken fans out there, McGlynn also voiced Nina Williams for years. Number 27. While Cetrion's around to help her mom out, Kronika also has Garrus do her bidding. Kronika basically built him as her immortal servant in maintaining the timeline. Number 28. Like Kronika, Garrus has the power to manipulate time. His name itself, Garrus, actually comes from the Greek god of old age with the same name. Number 29. Garrus was actually originally called Terminus. This was his name when the new Mortal Kombat 11 roster first appeared on the official website. Also, Garrus's in-game file is Ter, in reference to his original name. Number 30. Garrus's time manipulation even affects his gameplay. Garrus has an ability called Lost Time that actually reduces the remaining time on the match's clock. He takes 30 seconds off the clock unless the timer is at 30 seconds or below. If this is the case, it only takes off 10 seconds instead. Number 31. Garrus is voiced by Dave B. Mitchell. Mitchell has also been the voice of Knuckles in the Sonic the Hedgehog series since 2019. Number 32. The third new character, Collector, is a despicably greedy, weaselly Shao Kahn loyalist, determined to put his master back atop the Outworld throne. Number 33. Don't let Collector's multiple arms confuse you though. He's not a Shokan like Goro. With 6 arms instead of 4, he's a Nagnaden, a different race native to Outworld. Number 34. When Shao Kahn conquered the Nagnata, he enslaved them and forced them to build the Colosseum, as well as his personal palace. Shao Kahn promoted certain Nagnata like Collector from slaves to slavers, and tasked them with collecting treasures for him as tribute. Number 35. Of course, there's plenty of returning characters in Mortal Kombat 11 as well. Ed Boon says that the story largely determines which characters NetherRealm chooses to bring back, but that fans are also a factor. He insists that they have a vote in which characters rejoin the roster. Number 36. Characters like Sub-Zero and Scorpion are obvious Mortal Kombat shoo-ins, except for that one time that Scorpion wasn't in Mortal Kombat 3, but some of these characters haven't been seen in a minute. For instance, this is the first time that Frost has been playable since Mortal Kombat Armageddon in 2006. Number 37. Now though, she's a cyborg like the rest of the Cyber Lin Kuei, complete with advanced upgrades, courtesy of Kronika. Number 38. Speaking of cyborgs, Cyrax and Sector both appear in Mortal Kombat's story mode. You can fight against them, but unfortunately they aren't part of the playable roster. Number 39. As for Scarlet, she's a deeper cut than some of the other characters. Her first and only appearance in Mortal Kombat was as a DLC character for 2011's Mortal Kombat reboot. Number 40. Her fatality was actually the first Mortal Kombat 11 fatality shown at the end of the announcement trailer. Number 41. In fact, a few base Mortal Kombat 11 cast members haven't been playable since MK9, including Jade, Noob Saibot, and Baraka. Number 42. Old characters don't mean old design though. NetherRealm art lead Brendan George is part of the team tasked with updating their looks. Number 43. When redesigning classic characters, George had a specific approach. For each character, he made sure to follow 3 different principles. Number 44. The first one was do not repeat themselves. This note came down from Ed Boon himself. Every character was subject to something new, from classics like Scorpion to newcomers like Cassie Cage. Number 45. Principle number 2. Ironically enough, George looked to the past for new inspiration. Mortal Kombat 3. Specifically, George lifted MK3's style of bright, popping colors to act as visual aids. It was a deliberate choice to contrast Mortal Kombat's sometimes muddy color palette. Number 46. Brendan George played a ton of Mortal Kombat 3 as a kid, so it was an easy task to return to an old favorite for new ideas. Number 47. Principle number 3. Follow Mortal Kombat 11's story premise of old meets new. With converging timelines, the art team got to update the classic looks of the characters while creating brand new ones for the current versions. Number 48. To pick a character's look, George and the art team pulled from the story details and determined a kind of thematic backstory to base their design on. Number 49. For the story itself, that fell on the shoulders of Mortal Kombat 11's story director, Dominic Ciancolo. Number 50. Once George had an idea of what the character was all about, personality and plot-wise, his next step was to gather info from the gameplay team at NetherRealm. That way, he could get a flavor for how the character fights and if there are any particular weapons that they use. Number 51. George also did additional research on his own. He would watch YouTubers and other fan-made content about the characters and make sure that his ideas wouldn't contradict anything from Mortal Kombat's extensive lore. Number 52. With all the research in, George and the artistic team created 5 speeds for each character, different versions that they would present to higher-ups like Ed Boon for tweaking and final approval. Number 53. One of those higher-ups at NetherRealm was art director Steve Barron. Number 54. Of all the updated character designs, Barron said that he's most proud of Scarlet's. The art team went through 10 different attempts and a number of months to perfect her look. Number 55. As hard as the art team worked, you still get the chance to change up your character's looks yourself. It's all thanks to Mortal Kombat 11's new cosmetic system, Gear. Number 56. While Gear is new to Mortal Kombat, NetherRealm first implemented the Gear system in 2017 with Injustice 2. Number 57. Specifically, you can customize your character with a different base skin and modify it with 3 different customizable gears. Number 58. The 3 different pieces of gear that you can customize are unique to each character. For example, Scorpion Mains can change up his face mask, katana, and spear. Number 59. As you use gear, you can level them up. When you level up a piece of gear, it can give you 2 augments that give you some boosts during a fight. Number 60. External boosts can be a nightmare in fighting games, but Mortal Kombat 11 keeps things fair. The augment boosts only work for offline single-player modes. You can't take your augmented gear online to fight other players, so that's one less tier list that you'll need to worry about. Number 61. Brendan George said that among all the options, the amount of individual cosmetics that are available reaches into the multi-thousands. Number 62. Customizing your look is cool and everything, but Mortal Kombat 11 even lets you customize your playstyle. Custom variations returned from Mortal Kombat X, allowing you to change the moves of your characters. Number 63. While MKX had 3 variations to choose from, Mortal Kombat 11 only initially has 2. However, you can customize these variations at a more granular level to fit your specific style. Number 64. Just know that, like the gear augments, your custom moveset won't be available in online ranked modes. For that, there are 3 predetermined variations for each character to choose from, similar to how the system was implemented in MKX. Number 65. Among all the new variations in gear, Mortal Kombat 11 still brought some tried and true mechanics back into the fold. You've got brutalities, friendships, and of course, the classic fatalities. Number 66. Mortal Kombat 11 does introduce a few new fighting mechanics though. For example, there's Fatal Blows. They're pretty much 11's iteration of super moves complete with full flashy animations, not unlike the X-ray moves from MK9 and MKX. Number 67. Here's the key difference though. Fatal Blows can only be performed once your health has dropped below 30%. Also, you can only land 1 fatal blow per match, so make it count. Number 68. If you miss your fatal blow or your opponent blocks it, then you're not completely asked out. You'll get a second chance to land a fatal blow after some time has passed, if you get a second chance. Number 69. Mortal Kombat also introduces crushing blows, brief cinematic attacks that occur under certain conditions. These have the familiar bone-breaking animations akin to the classic X-ray attacks. Number 70. The requirements and inputs for crushing blows vary between characters, but every character shares one universal crushing blow that they can pull off, a launching uppercut. Number 71. Not every new mechanic is fatal or crushing though. This is a fighting game, so you'll need to block at some point. But why block when you can flawless block? If you block an attack at the perfect time, you'll reduce chip damage and open the opponent up for different punishes that you couldn't pull off normally. Number 72. Flawless blocking gives opportunities to stunt, but so do mercies. You can perform a mercy on a downed opponent after the finish him prompt, reviving them with a little bit of health and a demolished sense of pride. Number 73. This is the first time that mercies have been in Mortal Kombat since Ultimate MK3 back in 1995. Number 74. Even though the game came out in 2019, Mortal Kombat 11 was still built on Unreal Engine 3. Granted, it uses a heavily modified Unreal 3, but still, it's using Unreal 3. Number 75. It's always nice to see mercies back in Mortal Kombat, but DLC and guest characters are even nicer. The first DLC character to be announced and released was Shang Tsung. Number 76. For Mortal Kombat 11, Shang Tsung is once again played by Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa, providing both the character's voice and likeness. Number 77. If you remember, Tagawa famously played Shang Tsung in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, complete with the iconic phrase, "Your soul is mine." Number 78. On May 31st, 2019, 3 more characters were revealed to be on the way to Mortal Kombat 11. You've got the classic MK characters Nightwolf and Sindel, as well as 11's first guest announced character, Spawn. Number 79. Spawn was actually supposed to be in MKX. Todd McFarlane, Spawn's creator, gave NetherRealm a window of opportunity to use him back in February of 2015. Trouble is, Ed Boon didn't know about it until X had already come out. Number 80. This time around, Spawn is played by Keith David. Number 81. Keith David isn't the only famous voice though. Sonya Blade is played by UFC champion turned WWE star Ronda Rousey. Number 82. As for the next 2 DLC characters, you've got the classic Batman villain the Joker and the incomparable T-800, the Terminator. Number 83. The Terminator was released as part of a promotion for the latest Terminator movie at the time, Terminator Dark Fate. Number 84. If you're gonna have the Terminator, you know you've gotta get the man himself involved. Fortunately, Arnold Schwarzenegger provided the facial likeness and capture for the Terminator. Number 85. Unfortunately, he doesn't provide the Terminator's voice. Instead, the T-800 is voiced by Chris Cox. If it's any consolation, Schwarzenegger himself chose Cox for the role, so at least it has the Arnie seal of approval. Number 86. After Combat Pack 1, the next wave of DLC was part of the Aftermath update in May 2020. This update included a new expansion to the story mode with Togawa's Tsung in the spotlight. Of course, there are some new characters too. You got classic Mortal Kombat characters Fujin and Shiva, as well as the 3rd guest character, RoboCop. Number 87. Though Aftermath establishes one of the base Mortal Kombat 11 story's endings as canon, there are 2 different possibilities for the conclusion of the expansion. At this point though, there's still no telling which of these endings are canon, if either. Number 88. Again, it all comes down to the final battle. You can choose whether to play as Shang Tsung or Liu Kang. If Shang Tsung wins, he absorbs Liu Kang's soul and creates a new era with Fujin and Raiden as his servants. Number 89. If Liu Kang wins, he erases Shang Tsung, forges his own new era, and trains Kung Lao's ancestor, the great Kung Lao, at the Shaolin Temple to be his champion for the Mortal Kombat tournaments. Number 90. Aftermath's plot and Shang Tsung were originally supposed to be part of the base Mortal Kombat 11 game. Because Togawa was cast so late into the development cycle, NetherRealm pushed everything back so they could have him play Shang Tsung. They figured it was better to have a late Togawa Shang Tsung than never. Number 91. While we got to see Shiva during the original Mortal Kombat 11 story mode, Fujin hasn't been playable since Mortal Kombat Armageddon, just like Frost. Number 92. The next wave of DLC, Combat Pack 2, included characters Molina, Rain, and another guest character, John Rambo. Number 93. Just like with Terminator, NetherRealm made sure to do Rambo right. Sure enough, Rambo is voiced by Sylvester Stallone, who also provided his facial capture. Number 94. Because of the pandemic, Sylvester Stallone recorded his lines for Rambo from home while on a Zoom call with the NetherRealm team. Number 95. For Molina, fans have been clamoring for her to be part of MK11's roster since, well, MK11 came out. Number 96. According to Ed Boon, NetherRealm had planned to release Molina as DLC, but deliberately held her back to create an appreciation for the character after seeing all of the fan backlash about her exclusion. Number 97. For the woman characters that were in the game, Boon and Mortal Kombat 11 also caught flack for them too. Some MK fans were pissed off that their outfits weren't as suggestive as they had been in the past. Number 98. Ironically enough, Boon defended the decision in an interview with Playboy of all places. When asked about the more subdued outfits for 11, he said that it was unrealistic for them to wear so little clothes. Boon even said that the NetherRealm team went too far in MK9 with the sexualization. Number 99. Of course, Mortal Kombat is no stranger to controversy. Mortal Kombat is banned in China, Japan, and Indonesia due to its rampant violence and gore. Number 100. MK11 is also banned in Ukraine, but not necessarily because of the violence. Ukraine gave MK11 a hard pass because of communist imagery, and I'm not talking about Shao Kahn's hammer and Noob Saibot's sickles. Specifically, pre-ordering the special edition of Mortal Kombat 11 unlocked a special Soviet-esque skin for Scarlet called Cold War Scarlet. Number 101. Mortal Kombat's violence has always been an issue in the mainstream, but it's also caused some problems behind the scenes too. In 2019, one of the developers on the cinematics team at NetherRealm came forward to Kotaku about their diagnosis of PTSD. The devs said that it was caused by looking at so many graphic reference pictures to make the gore animations in Mortal Kombat as realistic as possible. Number 102. They described how they would see disturbing images in their sleep from staring at gore all day. They also mentioned how regularly the team would look at both videos and pictures of everything from slaughtered animals to actual people being murdered. Number 103. And yet, the game itself sold incredibly well. Mortal Kombat 11 was the best-selling game of April 2019 and the 5th best-selling game that entire year. Number 104. However, accusations of crunch culture threw NetherRealm into some hot water. Apparently, over the past few years, across games including Injustice 2 and Mortal Kombat X, employees were regularly pulling 80 to 100-hour work weeks to meet deadlines. Number 105. As of July 2nd, 2021, NetherRealm announced that they were done with Mortal Kombat 11. Moving forward, the game would not be receiving any more updates or DLC, as NRS would be focused on their next project, whatever that happens to be. Number 106. In October 2022, Mortal Kombat celebrated its 30th anniversary. The arcade game debuted back on October 8th, 1992. Number 107. Oh, and games aside, Mortal Kombat even got a new movie in 2021, a reboot simply titled Mortal Kombat. But if we do facts on that, it'll be on our movie channel, Cinematica. If you're looking for more facts on video games though, you are in the right place. Make sure to subscribe to the Leaderboard for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.